Welcome to the first video of the three-part closure series. Let's dive into the comprehensive introduction of the closures in JavaScript. If you have a JavaScript function and a variable declared outside it, and you are able to access the outside variable inside the function, you are forming a closure. Let's call my function here and see if it has access to the outer variable. In this code snippet, we say that my function is forming a closure over the variable temp. This holds true for variable declared with let or const as well. Let's extend this code and add an inner function to the my function. My function is now the parent function of inner function. We try to access the global variable temp inside the inner function. We know that temp is not in the parent function. Still, we are able to access it. When we run the code, we see that we are able to access temp successfully. Let's now add one more variable before making the formal statement about the closure. We add a variable temp2 inside the parent function and access it in the inner function. We run the code and get the correct values without any reference error for accessing the variables. Here, we say that inner function makes a closure on variables temp and temp2. If we declare a variable in the parent function but do not use it inside the inner function, it will get destroyed when the parent function will return. However, the variable temp2 will be retained in the heap memory as inner function is making closure over it. Formally, we say that a closure is a feature that allows a function to retain access to the variables in its outer scope where it was created. Access to variables is retained even after that scope has finished its execution. Let's now return the function instead of calling it inside the parent function. We will execute the inner function in the global scope and verify that the reference to the outer scope variables is still retained. We call my function and get reference to the inner function and call it. When we run the code, we get the expected values of the retained variables. Closure also allows to retain the parameters of the outer scope. For example, if we pass a parameter to the parent function and access it in the inner function, we see that its value is retained even after the parent function has finished its execution. Let me pass my name as parameter to my function and run the code. We see that the value of my parameter is retained even though my function is completed its execution and returned inner function to the global scope. We execute inner function in the global scope and values of global variable temp, parent function's variable temp2 and parent function's parameter my parameter are retained. That's the power of closures. This is the first video of the three-part closure series. The second part of the series covers how closures work inside loops with var and let variables. The third part covers the private functions with closures. To get the links, see the description below. Hope you liked the content. Please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon to support our channel. Thanks for being part of our journey.